Going to also lose the sanctity of the dollar. People aren't going to rely on the dollar. And they're going to do that. They're going to all come back. And if they don't rely on the dollar, then I'm not going to let them sell into the United States. I'm going to tell them, look, if you're not going to rely on us as the currency of choice, then you are not going to be able to do business in the United States. You know what they're going to say? I love the dollar very much, every single one of them, because we are losing that. You know, China is trying to take that away from us. And I'll say, by the way, I'll say the same thing to China. Like I put a 27.5% tariff on cars from China. So they haven't been able to pillage our country and close up our factories and lose our jobs. Otherwise, they'd be selling cars in here like hotcakes. And if you take a look at what they're doing to Europe, China is destroying the automobile business of Europe.
Another place that India leads, but there's a lot more that all of you can be involved in driving forward, is this digital public infrastructure. You know, no country is more able to take government benefits and get them out efficiently and effectively to their citizens than India. Basic structure that starts with identity and bank accounts and payments is just foundational.
Long overdue for common sense crypto regulation. However, when you look at the details in the so-called Genius Act, it's a great example of just how messed up our financial regulatory system is, because it gives stablecoin issuers the choice of not one, not two, not three, but 55 different regulators at the state and federal level. So in other words, Congress can't make up their mind how to do anything, so they say, oh, pick one of the 55 regulators for your stablecoin. And for the federal regulators involved, they're told to issue joint rulemakings. Now, if you think about all the waste and inefficiency that the Doge team is trying to eradicate, this is a classic example. Congress should pick one regulator with a clear mandate and give us some common sense regulation. So yes, we do need regulation, but instead of just putting a Band-Aid on a broken system, let's fix the system. Now, let's make an example of crypto regulation and do it the right way, rather than just hand it to an alphabet soup of different entities, because it requires that stablecoins be backed by solid, stable assets. That's a good thing. Now, I think what we're going to see, which is inevitable, is we're going to see offshore use of dollar-based stablecoins that really don't want to have anything to do with U.S. regulation. So just like we have euro dollars in the TradFi space, we'll have stablecoins outside the U.S. that are linked to the dollar. And by the way, we really benefit from this global use of the dollar in the U.S. We, the U.S. citizens and taxpayers, earn huge amounts of money by the global use of the dollar. And so this is something we want to encourage, not discourage.
Now, I need for y'all to listen to this closely.
Do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty, King Charles III, King of Canada, his heirs and successors. I, Mark Carney, do solemnly and sincerely swear that I shall be a true and faithful servant to His Majesty, King Charles III, as a member of His Majesty's Privy Council for Canada. I will, in all things, to be treated, debated, and resolved in Privy Council, faithfully, honestly, and truly declare my mind and my opinion. I shall keep secret all matters committed and revealed to me in this capacity, or that shall be secretly treated of in council. Generally, in all things I shall do as a faithful and true servant ought to do for His Majesty.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher, and you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we know Trump wants to devalue the dollar. And how do you do that? You push them off. And basically, they're getting an excuse to come off the dollar. And we already know the BRICS had a plan back in 2014. And like Jerome Powell stated, they've been studying digital currencies for decades because they know all fiat dies. Now the weaponization of the dollar with sanctions And then also with these tariffs will cause a currency war and a trade war. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have Bill Gates on digital ID, not just for payments, but it's for the whole economy. And we know everything is going to be tokenized and put on blockchain. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Now we have James Angel on the Genius Act. We have too many regulators, but remember, guys, it's order out of chaos because all of it is going to fall in the hands of the Fed. They're going to stay control of the money supply. That's the reason why these stablecoin issuers have to buy treasuries, and that keeps the Fed in control. And we already have Tether that doesn't want to follow the rules in the U.S., but we know the Fed has its hands all over Tether. They have plenty of T-bills. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And the most important part of this video is just a few seconds. And that's Mark Carney telling you servitude to the king. And if you understand that, then you'll understand the Bible. And you'll also understand the rulers. And believe me, Trump had to do the same thing. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have Trump getting us on a level playing field for this new digital economy in the name of Doge and these tariffs. And we have this CNBC guy says he doesn't think we have an inflation problem and tariffs are not inflationary. And we know this is nothing but the Hegelian dialectic, and that makes no sense whatsoever. We're still seeing prices go up, and it's definitely not going up 2 to 3%. And we have Joe says that the Fed doesn't control the 10-year yield, but we had Jerome Powell admit they control the long end with the repo. You know, I brought it to you. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have the stock market in correction territory. And we saw that they bought the dip today, just like they did last Friday. But this Friday, we have options expiring for the stocks. But then also, guys, we have Jerome in the house. So we'll definitely have, again, a roller coaster ride this week. And we have gold keeps rising. And we know why. The central banks keep buying. As simple as that. They know fiat is history. And whether it's the United States or China, someone is going to back a percentage of their currency with gold. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have another plane issue being reported. And we know that's going to scare some people from flying. But remember, guys, this whole legacy economy has to be disrupted so the fourth industrial revolution can rise. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Stock market is in a correction mode, but the reality is President Trump is right on this, isn't he? And doesn't he have to do something about it because the world trading system's been broken all these years?
Well, apparently free trade only means free trade for other countries and not for America. And as you well know, Larry, a lot of those countries bake in tariffs in other ways, whether they call it a value-add tax, an import fee, an import tax, or they have regulatory hurdles that artificially create trade barriers for American companies. So what's happening now is we are leveling the playing field so American companies can compete on the global stage and win on the global stage, because that's what we will do when given a fair landscape to play in.
Far too long as it's come down. I think it needs to catch up kind of to the reality where we're at. I don't think we have an inflation problem in this country. I don't think tariffs are inflationary. They are a tax. They are a restrictive, tightening force that's likely to slow down economic growth.
You're always kind of contrarian, but if the Fed, you think they should go more than 2 or 3 then? You go more than 2 or 3. Would that work on the 10-year? Because they don't control the long end. You think it would help?
Absolutely. I think if the Fed, I think what's going to happen, Joe, is the economic growth rate is going to slow enough that it's going to be obvious the Fed has to ease, and the bond yields will do that. And the bond yield's already starting to say that. You know, we've gone from 480 to 430. That's already suggesting to the Fed that it's time to start easing again.
So what happens is we borrow money to cover the spending that Congress has done. Our purchases don't affect that. We're basically issuing reserves, which is cash, and we're retiring Treasury securities. And the effect of that is to drive down long-term rates. That's the whole reason for QE.
Well, it's been pretty rough. We are officially in correction territory, so we can take that off the table. And then the question is, where do we go from here? Sentiment, all-time lows. The worst sentiment reading since September of 2022. As a contrarian, all right, what happened after September 2022, October, was the low of that sell-off. And then sentiment over the last 3 weeks, the lowest rating we've had over a 3-week span, going back to when? 2009. So to me, this is kind of, all right, we're getting that fear, getting that panic. If we see the VIX spike a little bit, we get that washout, then to me, I'm getting excited.
What's the lesson from gold's climb to 3,000?
So gold is an asset that a lot of people get confused by, but I can break it down very simply. It does best at the tails. One tail is when we have rising high inflation, especially faster than expected. And the other tail is recessionary fear or crisis fear. I think right now you've got a little bit of both. You certainly have uncertainty that growth could slow. And as we saw in the latest consumer sentiment report, inflation expectations are rising, I think, a lot faster than people might have expected.
We're now a quarter of the way through 25. The gold upgrades are coming. And they're coming, and the level on spot is something that I think will continue to go higher. Remember, I think this administration is very happy to see the dollar weaker. I think the dollar structurally will be weaker significantly over the next 5 years. I think you're going to want to own gold and more gold and gold again.
Video, an American Airlines plane catching fire at the Denver International Airport. It took place yesterday, shortly after departing from Colorado Springs, Colorado. The crew reported engine vibrations. The flight was diverted to Denver and landed safely, but the engine caught fire while the plane was taxiing to the gate. Passengers evacuated down the emergency slide and onto the wing of the aircraft. All were safely evacuated. 12 people were taken to the hospital with minor injuries. The FAA is investigating. And what I can't tell, guys, is whether we really are seeing a trend of these either near accidents or otherwise troubling issues, whether we're more focused on them, whether there's actually a problem in terms of what the FAA is doing, what the problems with the airlines are doing, what exactly is happening here.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China. But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, well, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're going to get more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets. Now,
it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, if new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Xrp, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Drama Team save New York from COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Drama Team goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.